In a patriarchal society, the maternal spirit is sometimes treated as second class. Perhaps feminine archetypes are scary to some. Perhaps we're afraid of making ourselves vulnerable to embracing our maternal instincts. Women are criticized for either being too much like mothers or not enough like mothers. You can't win. Well, of course not. In a patriarchal world, we ensure that you don't win. Forever battling the prevailing culture, it's a tough fight. And just when you think you've won something, the patriarchal hierarchy steps in. Just when a woman thought that she had the right to make decisions regarding her own body after 50 years of constitutional protections, your rights were suddenly taken away at the federal level. And patriarchal does not mean exclusively men. Many women adhere and submit to this model, including many Catholics, Protestant, evangelical churches, Orthodox Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and even humanists. Men in masculine models are elevated above women in feminist models, denying the qualities that actually make our society work: trust, loyalty, creativity, compassion, and don't forget about multitasking, something men cannot absolutely do. As a faith, Unitarian Universalists are pretty much unique in our principle of equality, the dignity and worth of every person, the equality of every person. Unitarian Universalist offers us examples right down through history, from Susan B. Anthony all the way up to those that are sitting right here in front of us in Fernandina Beach and on Zoom. You show us a pathway to a life based on truth, reason, freedom, and love. Certainly motherhood, as is parenthood, is a mixed bag for all of us. Created in a patriarchal society doesn't make it any easier. Kathleen McKenzie, a daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter, mother, and grandmother, reflected on this, and I've asked Kathleen to share her thoughts with you this morning. Please give her a warm welcome.
Well, I was really surprised when Peter asked me to talk about Mother's Day. I told Peter I was not the person who should talk about Mother's Day. I have very mixed feelings about Mother's Day. He said, talk about what you want. It will be balanced with more sentimental parts in the service. So here I am. Happy Mother's Day. Mother's Day. That is a very complicated topic. Days honoring mothers is an ancient tradition, and those honors were mostly for the mothers of gods. And as we have noted already this morning, Mother's Day became an American tradition also. One that Hallmark cards is very happy about, as are the florists and candy makers. Like much else that starts with genuine feelings, things get quickly commercialized. And anyone who skips these niceties for someone in their life may feel some amount of guilt. So, this year, I told my children, who live 1,000 miles away, not to send me a gift for Mother's Day. I realized, but just to send some nice words that I could hold in my heart. I really did this. They usually send me flowers. But after I told them that, I realized I had just laid a whole other guilt trip on them. Now they had to think up some nice words to send me to hold in my heart. How manipulative of me. Just when I thought I was relieving them of a burden, I just changed the burden. It's hard to get Mother's Day just right, even for the mother. Working on this talk, I found are many prayers for mothers online. I found many lists of prayers for mothers, lists of 7 prayers, 21 prayers, 40 prayers, even a list of 75 prayers for mothers. We must need a lot of people praying for us. And I found a prayer for 20 different kinds of mothers on Mother's Day. And I would just like to read this to you. These are the 20 different kinds of mothers. Maybe you are one. Biological mothers, adoptive mothers, foster mothers, stepmothers, grandmothers raising grandchildren, surrogate mothers, mothers-in-law, spiritual mothers, mentor mothers, expectant mothers, mothers of children with special needs, mothers who have experienced loss, mothers of blended families, working mothers, stay-at-home mothers, mothers of multiples, grieving mothers, mothers of prodigals. Prodigals? I don't know. I've never heard of any mothers of prodigals. I'm not familiar with that. Different kinds of mothers have become a popular idea. When I went to the UUA Worship Web, which is to help us provide this kind of information, I could only find caregivers listed, not mothers. I don't know, maybe I didn't look hard enough, but ideas for caregivers didn't do much to help me. It's so non-specific, and it seems mothers kind of got lost. So you see what I mean when I say Mother's Day is very complicated. But I think mothers is really a complicated topic, at least for some of us. Maybe most of you have very fond experiences or memories of your mothers. That's great. Maybe some of you yourselves have been an outstanding, doting, and fair mother, totally adored by your children. That's also great. I myself have some regrets about how I mothered my children. I have always been very grateful for the universalism in our UU church. I thought, if we are all universalists, we are all forgiven for our sins and misdeeds, and we're not going to go to hell because of our faulty mothering. So then perhaps I could forgive myself for some of my mothering errors. Perhaps some of you have some regrets about your mothering. You're more than welcome to use my perception of universalism for yourself. I had problems too with my relationship with my mother. Perhaps many of us have complicated feelings about our mothers. Sometimes these complicated feelings last longer than our mothers. Although I don't personally know anyone for whom it is not at all complicated, including for my children, for myself, and for my mother and her mother, etc. I have a friend, a wise woman, a feminist counselor, actually, named Xanda. She lives in Maine. A lot of wise people live in Maine. She explained to me the complications we feel about our mothers, calling it our mother muck. Xanda blamed this on the patriarchal society. I thought that was a good idea. She said, so when we look at our mothers, we can see all their faults But if we look further to our mother's mother, we can also begin to see the problems that our mothers faced by having our grandmothers as their mother. Now I can see my problems with my mother, her problems with her mother, and can imagine my grandmother's problems with her mother ad infinitum. We were mostly raised by a whole line of mothers who passed down to their daughters the expectations they felt from the patriarchal society. The patriarchy kind of dictated what a mother should be and do, dictated the role a woman would, could, should play in society. The role was quite prescribed. Not a lot of room for differing paths, so very many women became mothers. Which may be the reason we have Mother's Day. Maybe it's compensation. There were not a lot of opportunities for complete self-sufficiency for women, not a lot of room for differing paths, and not much access to any effective birth control either, until the 60s. So some mothers were, well, you know. Some women did opt for the single life, not to be a mother, but to be self-sufficient. But that was often tough unless your father was wealthy. It's not just that the concept of mother can have so many iterations. It's just that being a mother of whatever type is very difficult. There's a lot of room for mistakes. But Xanda encouraged me to be more generous with my mother and to understand and accept who she was and how her life had been so different from mine. During the time I visited Xanda in Maine, I was spending several months helping my widowed mother in Indiana sell the house she had been born in to move south about 500 miles. My sister had moved to North Carolina, and my brother had recently died. That left my mother all alone. I volunteered to help my mother make this whole transition into senior housing so she could be close to my younger sister. I made many trips from Jacksonville to Indiana and to Hendersonville, North Carolina. In the end, I drove a U-Haul truck with my mother's belongings that 500 miles to her new home. But before the actual move, my son, who lives in New York, had come to help me sorting out the contents of the house, packing my mother's things, and overseeing an estate sale. It was a tough time for all three of us. My son, Joey, and I stayed at a motel. My mother stayed at my brother's wife's house. Joey, one evening, after dinner at a Buffalo Wild Wings bar and restaurant, turned on his computer to play a song for me to hear. It was Mercy Now by Mary Gautier. Maybe some of you know it. She sang, "We could all use some mercy now." It's a wonderful song. Look it up, especially if you know someone or some country that could use a little mercy now. Celebrating moms comes down to much more than sending cards and gifts on Mother's Day. As you use, we can make space for all moms in all their variations, all their genders, all different mothers. And we can generously consider our own mothers with all their strengths and all their weaknesses. Motherhood is never easy or simple, and while it's hard to make sense of all its complexities, we can honor all mothers to make the path a little bit easier. As Mary Gautier sang, we could all use a little mercy now. So as Hallmark cards would say, we wish all our mothers a happy Mother's Day, not just one day of the year, but every day. I have to tell you this postscript. I received these surprise lilies below me here from my children and their families on Thursday as I was working on this talk. It was accompanied by a simple note. It said, "We love you very much. Happy Mother's Day, all."
Thank you, Kathleen. What a beautiful and heartfelt talk. On the joy and complexity, and most importantly, the value of motherhood for us in our society. We do have a unique role in this world. As Unitarian Universalists, we have shed the baggage of patriarchal motherhood a long time ago. But we live in a world that's constantly propping it up. We know that women's rights, just like minority rights, are being attacked by the powerful, but also by millions in the pews of various religions and even secularists that promote male dominance. As the voice of reason, go figure, reason, in the light of truth, Unitarian Universalists will not tire in our fight. We will be allies in the fight for justice and equity and inclusion of women and mothers in all aspects of our society. As Kathleen wished you a happy Mother's Day, I do, and as we say, keep on moving on, because our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, indeed our men, all depend on it.